think you've mastered your pain because you don't feel it anymore. But that's not healing, that's emotional anesthesia. It's the illusion of control crafted by a nervous system that's been in survival mode for so long. You've mistaken shutdown for strength. You call it numbness, detachment, being unbothered. But underneath that stillness is a storm you've refused to look at for years. You didn't overcome the pain, you just learned how to bury it deep, enough that it no longer screams, only whispers. And those whispers, they're the quiet sabotage behind every self-doubt, every unexplained outburst, every night you lie awake staring into nothing, because silence no longer brings peace, it brings confrontation. You didn't escape the abyss, you're just living at the edge of it, pretending the darkness isn't still watching you from below. The emotions you refuse to feel don't simply disappear, they metastasize. What you suppress in the name of control or survival begins to rot beneath the surface, quietly reshaping your personality in ways you don't even recognize. That unresolved heartbreak, that childhood betrayal, that moment you swallowed your scream instead of speaking your truth, they all become invisible architects of your self-destruction. Without your conscious consent, that pain begins to leak out through your behavior. The unpredictable mood swings, the passive-aggressive remarks, the impulsive decisions that sabotage your progress right when you're about to succeed. You find yourself pushing people away before they can hurt you, clinging to toxic situations because chaos feels familiar, or self-medicating just to feel normal for 5 minutes. It's not random. It's not weakness. It's the aftermath of emotional infection. Wounds turned weapons, now pointed inward. The longer you refuse to confront the origin of your suffering, the more you become a danger to yourself. Not out of malice, but out of neglect. Repression is not healing, it's delayed damage, and the bill always comes due. You think you've escaped your past because you don't think about it anymore, but your body has never forgotten. While your conscious mind plays pretend, your nervous system has been faithfully recording every trauma, every suppressed scream, every moment you swallowed instead of spoke. That tightness in your chest when you're alone, the sudden spikes of anxiety in calm situations, the fatigue that sleep never cures, those aren't random. They're evidence. Your body has become a crime scene, and the weapon is your own silence. You don't need to remember what happened for it to haunt you. The trauma lives in your muscles, in your posture, in the way your stomach clenches when someone gets too close. It lives in the tension in your jaw, in the insomnia that creeps in at 3 a.m., in the chronic illnesses that doctors can't explain. You're not imagining it. You're not weak. You're full, overflowing, saturated with the emotional residue of everything you've refused to feel. And here's the dark truth most people will never tell you until you confront the pain, until you feel it fully and let it move through you like a storm. It will continue to hijack your body from the inside out, because the body never lies, and right now it's screaming the truth you refuse to hear. You don't reach for your phone out of boredom. You reach for it out of fear. The moment your surroundings grow quiet, and there's no noise left to mask your inner world, a creeping discomfort begins to rise. It's subtle at first, an urge to check a notification, to scroll, to drown in stimulation. But underneath that urge is something much darker. Stillness terrifies you because it strips away your shields. It leaves you alone in the room with the parts of yourself you've spent years trying to silence. That unease you feel in moments of calm isn't random. It's your mind revolting against a truth you've refused to face. You've trained your brain to avoid depth at all costs, because depth means exposure, and exposure means confrontation with your past, with your guilt, with the emotional debris you never cleaned up. Every distraction is a sedative, numbing you from the rawness of reality. But the irony is brutal. The more you run from stillness, the louder your chaos becomes. Not externally, but internally. And it doesn't stop, it just waits until the silence returns again. You walk through the world wearing a carefully crafted mask, composed of strength, indifference, and control. You tell people you've moved on, that you've healed, that the past no longer affects you, but deep down, even you don't believe it. That mask isn't confidence, it's camouflage. It's the armor you forged when you had no other choice, back when pain wasn't safe to feel and vulnerability was a threat, not a relief. Every smile that feels forced, every "I'm fine" that comes out of your mouth without thought, is a line from a script you didn't write, but now perform flawlessly. You've become so accustomed to playing this role that you've convinced yourself it's who you are, but it's not. It's a defense mechanism, a false self constructed not to thrive, but to survive. And here's the darkest part. The longer you wear it, the more you forget what's underneath. Until one day, the mask doesn't come off, because you don't remember who you were before the pain taught you to hide. You think you're choosing your partners, your friends, your patterns, but you're not. You're reenacting a script that was written long before you had the language to name your pain. Every argument you fall into, every person you obsess over, every cycle you swear you'll never repeat again, they're not accidents, they're echoes. Echoes of the wounds you never had the chance or the courage to fully confront. That partner who makes you feel invisible. They resemble the parent who made you beg for attention. That friend who constantly betrays your trust. They mirror the chaos that once made you believe betrayal is just part of love. You're not relating to people based on who they are. You're relating based on who hurt you and what parts of you were never allowed to heal. Until you face the original wound, your relationships will keep dragging you back into the same emotional labyrinth, where love feels like punishment, connection feels like danger, and distance feels safer than vulnerability. You don't need better people. You need to stop bleeding on those who didn't cut you. Otherwise, every bond will become a battlefield, and every heartbreak will be a message you continue to ignore. You think you're getting away with it. You think burying yourself in work, drowning in dopamine, or sleeping with people you don't even like is a form of freedom. But let me tell you something. Most won't dare say out loud, every escape you've built comes with a debt. And that debt collects interest in silence. The longer you run from your pain, the more it reshapes your identity behind your back. You become a ghost inside your own skin. Reactive, compulsive, hollow. You call it coping, but deep down you know it's self-destruction with a pretty name. You've confused temporary numbness for healing, distraction for recovery, and you've sold years of your life to avoid facing one buried scream inside your mind. And it doesn't go away. It waits. It waits until the masks crack, until the noise fades, until you're left alone in the quiet, where the pain finally speaks. And when it does, it won't ask for permission. It will demand everything you've been avoiding. So keep running if you want. But understand this, the longer the delay, the heavier the price. They told you that you were too sensitive, too emotional, too intense. So you buried the parts of you that didn't fit. Not because they were wrong, but because they were inconvenient to others. Over time, you mistook suppression for healing. You began to think that the emptiness you feel was a sign of something missing, when in truth, it's a sign of something imprisoned. You're not broken. You were never broken. You're buried under layers of expectations, rejections, betrayals, and unspoken truths. You silenced your voice to keep the peace. You denied your pain to be accepted. You killed your own needs just to be loved. And now you walk around like a ghost in your own body, wondering why nothing feels real anymore. But let me be clear, this numbness is not your natural state. It is the result of years spent disconnecting from your own truth. The real you, the one who once felt deeply, who once dreamed wildly, who once believed in something more. That version of you still exists. It's not gone. It's just suffocating beneath everything you were forced to become. And until you're willing to dig, to unearth what's been buried, to face what you were taught to hide, you will keep mistaking survival for living. Do you want to keep pretending you're healed? Or do you want to resurrect the self you abandoned? Because only one of those leads to actual freedom. You've been taught that pain is something to get rid of, something that must be healed, numbed, or medicated. But that belief is a lie. Pain isn't your enemy. It's your initiation. The suffering you've spent years avoiding is not a curse, it's a mirror. It reflects everything you've refused to face, everything you've hidden behind the masks of strength, productivity, or control. And here's the brutal truth. The more you resist it, the more control it has over you. But if you have the courage, no, the audacity to turn toward it, to sit with the very agony you once ran from, something changes, something fundamental. The illusions begin to collapse. The false identities you built out of fear start to dissolve. And beneath it all, you begin to glimpse something raw, something real, something untouchable. That is your power, not the power of pretending you're fine, not the hollow confidence that crumbles under pressure, but the kind of power that comes from walking through your personal hell and coming out the other side with your soul intact. This is the paradox no one wants to admit. The darkness you avoid holds the very strength you crave. Your pain is not a punishment, it's a gate. But only those willing to bleed for truth ever walk through it. If you've made it this far and still think you can outrun what's inside you, then you haven't understood the danger yet. This isn't just about emotional pain or childhood trauma. This is about the silent war happening within you every day. Every time you numb out, procrastinate, lash out, overwork, or stay in that dead relationship just a little longer, you are feeding the very force that is dismantling your potential piece by piece. Pain that is not faced becomes your ruler. It commands your decisions in whispers you mistake for intuition. It distorts your perception, warps your reality, and convinces you that your suffering is normal. But let me be clear, this is not normal. This is not life. This is survival, and survival mode is not meant to be permanent. This is your moment to stop lying to yourself, to stop making excuses, to stop pretending that you don't know why you feel lost, exhausted, empty. The answer has been clawing at you from within, but you've been too scared to look it in the eye. And yet, until you do, nothing will change. You will stay stuck in the same loops, attract the same people, repeat the same mistakes, and call it fate. But it's not fate. It's you, your ignorance, your refusal, your silence. So here's the truth you need to hear. The pain you ignore isn't just hurting you, it's becoming you. And if you don't confront it now, it will consume you later, when you're too weak to fight back. This is not a warning. It's a final chance. Wake up, or watch yourself rot in slow motion.